All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a seriously captivating historical and theological mystery straight from our source texts. We're looking at the story of the Companions of the Cave, or Ashab-e-Kahf. You know, this is one of those profound tales of faith, survival, and literally the bending of time itself. So let's dive right in and see how an ancient secret completely shocked an entire nation. Picture this for a second. A simple shepherd is out looking for a place to shelter his flock, right? And he comes across this cave that's been sealed off by a massive ancient stone wall. As he and his workers start tearing down the stones just to make some room, a sudden, inexplicable sense of awe and frankly terror washes over them. The workers are so freaked out they actually drop everything and flee the scene. But what they don't realize is that by moving those stones, they haven't just opened a cave. They have awakened a secret that has been sleeping in the dark for hundreds of years. Now, to understand exactly how we got here, we've got to jump back in time. According to the source narrative, long after the time of Prophet Isa, or Jesus, the world began to really change. People slowly drifted away from the teachings of monotheism. In the ancient city of Ephesus, which historians associate with Ephesus, society didn't just casually abandon the truth. No, it fell deep into forced idolatry. Worshipping anything other than the state's idols wasn't just frowned upon, it became a severe, heavily punished crime. At the very heart of all this oppression was King Decianus, also known historically as Decianus. The source material introduces him as a completely tyrannical, hard-hearted ruler. He demanded absolute submission to his idols. If you refused to bow down, or if you stood by your faith in the one true God, the punishments were brutal. Just speaking the truth could literally cost you your life in Decianus' kingdom. But here's what makes this whole thing so fascinating. Our protagonists, they weren't outcasts or rebels living on the fringes of society. Nope, these were noble youths belonging to some of the most respected, elite families in Ephesus. They even held prominent positions right inside the royal court. But they carried a massive secret. They still believed in one God. They absolutely despised the cruelty of the king and all the forced idolatry happening around them. And they quickly realized that staying in the city meant their faith. And let's be real, their lives were in grave danger. So they come up with a daring plan. They pull off a secret escape from the king's court, leaving all that wealth and comfort of the city completely behind. They travel far out into the rugged mountains until they find a hidden cave to use as a sanctuary. Once inside, they settle down to rest. And this is where the source material details a truly miraculous event. By divine intervention, a deep, incredibly heavy slumber overtakes them. They didn't just fall asleep for the night, they were placed into a profound, awe-inspiring state of rest that would last for centuries. It's like a divine pause button was hit. Back in the city, King Decianus quickly realizes his noble youths are missing. His network of spies eventually tracks them down to that mountain cave. When the king finds out, he is absolutely livid, furious. But instead of dragging them out, he gives this cruel, incredibly vindictive order. He commands his men to build a massive stone wall right across the mouth of the cave. His intention was brutal. Just trap them inside and let the cave become their permanent tomb. But wait, there is a massive historical twist here. The official who was actually tasked with sealing the cave, he was a secret believer himself. He knew he couldn't save the youths, but he desperately wanted to make sure their incredible sacrifice wouldn't just be erased from history. So he painstakingly inscribes their names, their numbers, and their entire story onto a copper tablet. He places this tablet into a copper box and secretly buries it right in the foundation of the wall sealing the cave. He even hides a second copy in the royal treasury as a backup. Their legacy was officially secured. So with the youths sealed away in the dark, the immense weight of time just takes over. Decades pass. The tyrannical King Decianus dies. Centuries roll by. Entire ancient empires rise, crumble to dust, and are replaced by totally new ones. Over 300 years pass before a new ruler, King Baiudos, ascends the throne. It is a staggering amount of time. Yet inside that cave, for the sleeping youths, time has stood completely still. Fast forward to the era of this new ruler, King Baiudos, and the world is completely unrecognizable. The violent persecution is gone, and faith has actually returned to the land. But there's a catch. A brand new crisis has emerged. While the people believed in God, many of them had started to actively deny the concept of life after death and the day of resurrection. They just couldn't wrap their minds around how a physical body could possibly be brought back to life once it was gone. Now, this widespread doubt, it deeply, deeply troubled King Baydus. The source tells us he actually retreated into isolation, weeping and earnestly praying to God. He pleaded for a divine sign, something undeniable that would prove to his doubting citizens that resurrection and life after death were absolute, literal realities. He needed a miracle, and as we're about to see, that miracle was already waiting for him just outside the city walls. Which brings us perfectly right back to our shepherd from the very beginning. The exact moment that shepherd and his terrified workers pull down that stone wall, the divine slumber is lifted. The youths inside the cave slowly open their eyes. They stretch, they greet each other, they pray. Because their awakening is so totally natural and peaceful, they look around and just assume they've only been asleep for a few hours or maybe a day at most. It is completely mind-boggling. They have absolutely zero concept of the 3 centuries that have just zipped by. So naturally, they wake up and they are starving. They come up with a stealth mission for one of their companions, a youth named Yamlika. His task is to carefully sneak back into the city of Afsos, grab some food, secretly gather intel on whether King Dakianus is still out there hunting them, and then make it back to the cave without drawing any attention whatsoever. It's a super high-stakes mission. Well, at least that's what they think. But when Yamlika actually steps foot into the city, he is met with absolute bewilderment. The city of Afsos doesn't look the same at all. And even more shocking, the culture has entirely flipped. Where yesterday, or, yesterday in his mind, mentioning God was an instant death sentence. Today, he hears people openly and joyfully praising Allah and discussing Prophet Isa right in the middle of the streets. Nobody is hiding. Imagine the sheer mental whiplash here. Yamlika is completely disoriented, just wondering how the entire world could have radically transformed overnight. And all of this leads to the ultimate collision of past and present, right in the middle of the marketplace. Yamlika goes to a baker to buy some bread. He reaches into his pouch, pulls out a silver coin, and hands it over. The baker looks at the coin and just freezes, because this isn't just foreign currency. This coin is over 300 years old. It still literally bears the stamp of a bygone era. Immediately, the baker is thinking, okay, this kid just found buried treasure. He alerts the authorities, and a super tense interrogation kicks off. The city officials surround Yamlika, demanding to know where this massive hoard of treasure is hidden. Yamlika is panicking, desperately insisting, "What treasure? Guys, this is just my own pocket money." He's quite literally trying to buy breakfast with an archaeological artifact. But the officials push back, pointing out that this specific currency was discontinued centuries ago. They tell him, "Look, you're a young man, just tell us the truth." Trying to just make sense of this absolute madness, Yamlika finally asks them, "Where is King Dakianus?" And the officials, they look at him like he has lost his mind. They respond with this earth-shattering truth. Today, there is no king by the name of Dakianus on this earth. He was a tyrant who lived centuries ago. In that staggering, heavy moment, the true scale of the miracle crashes down on Yamlika. He hasn't slept for a night. He has slept through history. Yamlika frantically explains his story and tells them his friends are still waiting up in the cave. Intrigued and totally astounded, the authorities, the scholars, and this massive crowd of citizens follow him back up the mountain. Meanwhile, inside the cave, the rest of the youth start hearing the rumbling of the approaching crowd. Because Yamlika has been gone for so long, they are absolutely convinced that King Dakianus' soldiers have finally found them. Their panic rises as the footsteps grow louder, and they immediately drop to pray fervently, bracing themselves for inevitable capture. Talk about dramatic irony, right? But when that huge crowd finally arrives at the cave, they don't attack. Instead, as they investigate the freshly broken wall at the entrance, they make a stunning discovery. They unearth an ancient copper box. It is the exact same one hidden in the foundation centuries earlier by that sympathetic, good-hearted official. Basically, an ancient time capsule. They pop open the box and pull out that copper tablet. As the scholars read the inscription out loud to the crowd, it perfectly, flawlessly matches everything Yamlika just told them. It lists the exact names of the youths and details how they fled the tyranny of King Dakianus to protect their faith. The receipts are right there. It is the ultimate, undeniable validation of their incredible story. The entire city is just left in pure awe. In an instant, the desperate prayers of King Baydus are answered. The news quickly reaches him, and he rushes up to the cave with his ministers. When he actually meets the youths, he falls to his knees in gratitude. He realizes right then and there that this is the exact divine sign he had been weeping and pleading for. The companions of the cave are a living miracle. They are tangible physical proof to his doubting citizens that if God can preserve these youths in a state of sleep for over 300 years and wake them up perfectly whole, then life after death and resurrection, they are undeniably real. With their purpose now completely, fully realized, the youths share a final, really emotional farewell with the king. They pray for his kingdom's protection and bid the crowd peace. Then, they quietly step back into the comfort of their cave. They lay down to rest once more, and according to the narrative, by divine command, they peacefully pass away. Their earthly and divine mission is beautifully, perfectly complete. But of course, their story certainly didn't end there. To honor them, King Bayudis had this beautiful, strong chest crafted to respectfully hold their bodies. He ordered a place of worship to be constructed right near the cave, ensuring it would become a lasting site of reflection. An annual day of remembrance was established so the miracle would literally never be forgotten. And most profoundly, as the source notes, this awe-inspiring narrative of the companions of the cave is permanently immortalized in Islamic text, specifically right within Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran. It is just a spectacular account, one that bridges centuries in the literal blink of an eye. Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. If a story of faith from so long ago can survive the rise and fall of entire empires and still profoundly shape beliefs today, what does that reveal to you about the true, enduring power of divine science and the ultimate illusion of time? Keep reflecting on that, and until next time, keep seeking the fascinating truth behind the stories that shape our world.